Good morning, everybody, and welcome to chapter 18. So, in the marketing mix, we have the four so-called P's: product, place, price, and promotion. And the promotion P in this book is covered in chapters 17 and 18. And in the promotion P, we also have four types of promotion. We have advertising, sales promotion, and public relations. And we looked at those in chapter 17. And in chapter 18 here, we're looking at the final form of promotion, personal selling. So that's what that's the context for chapter 8. Okay, so in chapter 8 here, we look at the nature and scope of personal selling and sales management and marketing. And then we look at two types of personal selling. We have order taking, and we have order getting. And when we speak about order getting, we have this personal selling process that has 6 stages that salespeople use. We have prospecting, the pre-approach, the approach, the presentation, the close, and the follow-up. So we look at these 6 stages in the personal selling process. And then at the final section of the chapter deals with sales management and sort of how companies manage their personal sales force. And really it consists of developing a sales plan for your sales force, implementing the sales plan, and then evaluating the results of your sales force. So that's what this chapter's about. It's kind of a short chapter, but it's because it ties in with chapter 17. Okay, so let's get going here. Oops. Okay. Okay. So in the promotion P, in the 4 P's of marketing, we have 4 P's: product, price, place, otherwise known as distribution, and promotion. And in promotion, we have advertising, sales promotion, public relations that we looked at in chapter 17, and then chapter 18 here looks at personal selling. So what is personal selling? So personal selling it's the face-to-face communication between the vendor and the customer for the purpose of influencing the customer's purchase decision. And sales management that we look at the end of this chapter. Sales management is the process of organizing your personal selling force through establishing a plan, implementing the plan, and then evaluating the results of your sales force. So we'll recall way back in chapter 1 when we talked about the concept of marketing. We said that everybody markets, and likewise everybody sells. And it's kind of a cute little saying in the book that says everybody lives by selling something. So whether you're in business and you're selling your product, whether you're a nonprofit organization selling your solution to a problem and you're selling your need for financing, or it's the government trying to sell its policies, or even students selling their essays and assignments to their teachers, effectively that's what they're doing. They're selling their ideas and looking for the instructors or the teachers to kind of buy the students' ideas. So everybody sells, everybody markets. And that's why I think that everybody has a bit of an innate sense of marketing. I think that's why it's kind of a readily understandable topic. Okay, so personal selling plays 3 roles in marketing. The salespeople are the link between the vendors and the buyers. So whether the buyers of the company's product are consumers or whether or not they're intermediaries in the distribution chain, wholesalers or retailers or distributors, salespeople are the link between the vendor and those different kind of buyers. And then salespeople are also they directly represent the company to the buyers. And so often in the eyes of the buyers, the salesperson effectively is the company because that's the person's That's the buyer's major contact with the seller. And then in certain industries, person to selling is the predominant form of marketing. And so we see this, for example, in door-to-door sales. So if we work for Avon, for example, they have over 6 million salespeople, personal salespeople, door-to-door salespeople throughout the world. And then it's also common in the pharmaceutical industry. You're a drug manufacturer and you want doctors to prescribe your new medicine, so your sales force goes out and makes their sales pitch to the doctors and medical clinics and pharmacists. Okay, so salespeople can create value for their customers also in three ways. Firstly, by helping customers identify or helping to identify solutions to the problems experienced by customers. And then, sometimes in big companies, they have complicated sales processes and salespeople help stick handle the customers through the internal process of the vendor. So, for example, let's say you wanted to buy a vehicle and you wanted to borrow money, you wanted to get some vendor financing from the vehicle manufacturer. So the salesperson might help you fill in the credit application form and meet the other criteria that the vendor needs in order to grant you credit. And then third way that salespeople can add value to customers is by following up with customers to deal with any subsequent issues. Okay, and then we have this concept of relationship selling. So this is where the salesperson tries to establish these long-term relationships with the buyers based on personal relations. So the salesperson is really looking at the long-term sales potential rather than simply the immediate sale. And then we also have this concept of partnership selling. So really it's the customer and the salesperson sort of working together to identify the needs of the customer and then trying to craft a solution that serves the interests of both parties. And it may be that the parties do some joint planning. The salesperson helps understand what the problems of the customers are, and then maybe the salesperson goes back to their company to help craft a unique solution. Okay. And then, so there's an interesting example in the book of sort of the job of salespeople. So there's a little company profiled here, Medtronic, that makes heart pacemakers. And the book tells us that Medtronic attends something like 90% of all the operating rooms when their pacemakers are installed, and then the salespeople are on call 24/7, just as a way of performing follow-up and making sure that they're able to address any customer issues with their product, which is pacemakers, which is pretty important if you have a pacemaker. Okay, if you have a heart problem. Okay, so different flavors of personal selling. So we have two different flavors of personal selling. We have order taking and we have order getting. So order taking is sort of the routine processing of orders or reprocessing a similar order the customer's purchased in the past. And when we talk about order taking, we have two flavors again. We have outside order takers. So this is the salesperson visiting the customer site and sort of replenishing the inventory on the spot. So we can imagine, we've probably seen this lots of times. We're at the gas station and they're getting a supply of inventory. So the guy from the delivery truck goes into the convenience store at the gas station, sees what they need, so many bags of chips or whatever, and then the guy goes into his truck, loads up, and then brings it in. So that's an outside order taker. And then we also have inside order takers. So it's a clerk in an office that takes the phone call or takes the email or reads the completed form on the company's website and the inside order taker kind of passively processes the customer's order. Okay, and then we have order getting, and this is order getting is the primary form of personal selling that we naturally think of, because order getting is really the salesperson engaging in this 6-step personal selling process that we're going to look at quite shortly. And so we have these 6 steps in the personal selling process. It's lead identification or prospect identification, pre-approach, approach, presentation, close, and follow-up. And we'll be going through that process shortly. But the book gives us some stats on how order getters spend their time. So most of their time is spent with customers, either face-to-face or by phone. Second greatest amount of time, greatest percentage of their time is spent generating leads and looking for looking for prospects, looking for potential customers, admin work, bureaucracy, bureaucracy and admin work, and then traveling, follow-up, and training, and so on. Okay, so let's just clear that, go back. Oops. Okay, so we have 2 types of personal selling, order taking and order getting, and we also have support staff to help order getters. And we have 3 types of support staff. We have so-called missionary salespeople, and I really don't know where this word comes from, but anyways, so missionary salespeople, they perform promotional activities, but they don't actually solicit any orders. Then we have sales engineers, who are technical people, so they help understand the technical problem experienced by the customer or prospective customer. So they analyze the customer's problems, and then they go back to the office, and someone else does the sales work. So they don't actually sell, and this is used largely in the industrial field. And then we can have team selling, where instead of having a single salesperson looking after a customer, you have a whole group of people on the vendor side and a whole group of people on the customer side that work with one another through the sales process. And it's for orders that are large in nature, complex in nature, expensive in nature. And I think the book gives us an example of Boeing Aircraft selling airplanes to airlines. So when Air Canada needs some new airplanes, or WestJet needs some new airplanes, or American Airlines needs some new airplanes, Boeing, there'll be a team of people at Air Canada and a team of people at Boeing that kind of get together and negotiate the deal. So I have a sort of an example of this, and it's the same one from the book actually. It's Boeing. So Boeing is in the process of developing a new airplane. It's the 777-9X, and this plane has a very long range. You can fly, geez, I don't know how to translate this into kilometers, but 8,000 nautical miles, carries 400 passengers, and it's 20% more fuel efficient than the existing 777. And there's some unique things about this, or some interesting things about this plane. It is so big that it doesn't fit in airports. The wings are too long. Oops, the wings are too long. And so what they're doing is the final 12 feet on each of the wings, once the plane lands, the wingtips fold up. So it doesn't take so much space in the actual airport, and it will fit an actual airport. Anyways, so that's a unique thing about the plane. But really, what I wanted to show you was, so these planes, they cost somewhere in the area of I don't know, $320 or $340 million each. So if Boeing is selling an airplane for over $300 million each, so that's about a third of $1 billion each, uh, and they're selling to airlines, I'm pretty sure that they're using a sales team to sell this. And what's also interesting is, when they sell these planes, they're selling them years in advance of when they're actually going to deliver them because they take orders. They take orders. I don't have it here. They take orders several years before they actually produce a plane. So they were taking this order, I think, in 2014, and they weren't going to deliver them until I think it's 2017. So they're taking orders several years in advance. So we can imagine that they're using a sales team approach for this. Oh, I don't have. I thought I had the dates when they were going to deliver. Oh, there. Oh, there it is. There, it's in the fine print. They're going to start. Oh, they're going to start production in 2017. So they're taking orders in 2014 and 2015. Starting production in 2017. It's probably going to take a year or so to build these things. Anyways, so this is an example of what I imagine is an example of team selling. Okay, expensive product. Okay, so the next little section deals with the personal selling process, and there's a 6-stage process in the personal selling process. So it's prospecting, it's prospecting, it's pre-approach, it's approach, it's presentation, it's close, and then it's the follow-up. So we're just going to walk through these six stages. So prospecting is searching for and qualifying potential customers. So we have three types of prospects. We have so-called leads, we have prospects per se, and we have qualified prospects. So a lead is the name of someone who's a possible customer. And so we can obtain leads from any number of sources. So we have advertisements out there in the market, so people might be following up with us based on the advertisements they've seen. We might go to trade shows, and so we make some face-to-face contact with prospective customers. We might have some industry directories that we go through, and we might engage in cold calling. So cold calling is sort of, as the name suggests, the salesperson picking up the phone, placing a call to some name they've come across. Maybe they've gone through an industry directory, maybe they've met somebody at a trade show, or somebody passed along a business card, and so they simply call up the name that they've been given and kind of make an unsolicited sales pitch. Okay, so we have leads, and we have prospects per se, and prospects per se are people who we know want or need our product. So we've already gone through the lead generation stage and we've kind of qualified them a little bit. And then the final type of prospects are qualified prospects. So these are people that we know that want our product and they can afford it, and they're the decision maker. They haven't decided quite yet, but we know that they're a qualified prospect. They're a good prospect. Okay, and the second stage of the personal selling process, so we have 6 stages here. Second stage is a pre-approach period. So we try to understand who our prospect is and determine the best method for approaching them. Some people might like to be contacted through email. Some people might like the face-to-face approach. Some people might like a phone call. Some people might want an introduction through a third party. Okay, and then we have the approach. So this is the initial meeting the salesperson has with the prospective customer. And the book tells us, and we know this sort of intuitively, that different cultures around the world have different business practices. So we know, I'm sure we know that, in North America here, when we meet someone new for the first time, it's customary for us to shake hands. Whereas in Japanese culture, they they don't have the custom of shaking hands. They have the custom of bowing to one another. And there's different etiquette for exchanging business cards. You know, in North America here, we just hand over a business card. But in Japan, you don't just hand it over. You turn the business card around so the person can read it as they receive it, and you kind of present it with both hands, and you receive a business card in return with both hands. You're kind of a little bit more diplomatic about the thing, rather than just taking it and throwing it in your pocket or you're stuffing it in your wallet. Anyway, so different cultures have different business cultures, and we have to, if we're trying to sell our product to someone in a different culture, we have to be sensitive to the differences in cultures. So we don't offend our prospective customers and drive them away before we can get them signed up. Anyways, okay, so the fourth stage in our personal selling process is the presentation stage, and so we're trying to create desire in our prospective customer to buy our product. And we have three different types of presentation. The first type is a so-called stimulus response presentation, otherwise known as, and we're all familiar with this, otherwise known as upselling. So it kind of assumes that the customer will buy something from us as long as we give them an appropriate stimulus. And the best example of this that we're probably all familiar with is we go to McDonald's, we order McNuggets or something and fries, and they say, hey, would you like a drink with that? Would you like a coffee with that? Would you like a dessert with that? So that's an example of upselling. They suggest an additional product for you to buy. Okay, then we have formula selling. So this is where the salesperson has we'll say a canned sales presentation. So the salesperson has a memorized little speech. Every time they see a customer, they flick the switch, and out comes this recorded speech out of their brain. So all the customers are kind of given the same presentation. And then the third form of presentation is a need satisfaction presentation, where the salesperson actually tries to understand what the customer needs, and then they try to find the most appropriate product to make the sales presentation on. So we have adaptive selling. We have two flavors of need satisfaction presentation. We have adaptive selling, where the salesperson adapts their sales presentation to the particular customer based on their needs. Because you may have a company that's selling a product with many different feature items, and if we know what this person's looking for, well, we just highlight the ones that they're interested in and disregard the others. And then we can also have consultative selling, where the salesperson, like the sales engineer, helps identify what problems the customer has, and then tries to craft a unique solution for that customer. So we can imagine this. You know, you've got a piece of equipment that's broken down. You're a customer, you've got a piece of equipment that's broken down. So you bring in a mechanic or somebody from the manufacturer and say, hey, can you help diagnose our problem, and then tell us what we need to get our machine back in operation. Okay, and so we know just from either being informal salespeople ourselves or being customers ourselves that sometimes if you're the customer, sometimes you're not interested in what the salesperson has to say, and so the customer offers up some objections, and then so we have a list of these 6 techniques for handling objections. And so the first technique is acknowledge and convert. So this is where the salesperson acknowledges that there's the objection of the customer, and then turns that objection into a positive reason for buying. So, you know, often customers will say, hey, nice product, but it's too expensive. And of course the salesperson says, yes, right, it is expensive, but that's because it has a lifetime warranty, it's very high quality, this product's going to last you 5 years versus the competitors, which is only going to last you a year and a half. Okay, then we have another technique for handling objections is postpone. So we kind of change the topic and then come back to the issue later. Third approach is to agree and neutralize. We say, yes, you're right, that's a defect, that's a shortcoming in our product, but really it's not very important, so we just move on to something else. The fourth approach is to accept the objection, saying, yes, you're right, it's an expensive product, but why is that an issue for you? So you try to find out why it's an issue, and they say, well, it's because I don't have enough money, and so maybe the salesperson can say, oh, by the way, we have a financing arm, or we've got good contacts with a bank that likes to lend against our product, so maybe we can help deal with that. Sometimes the customer raises an objection based on false information, so the salesperson's technique is to deny that information and provide correct information instead. And then sometimes, and I'm sure we're all familiar with this, sometimes the salesperson just ignores the objection and carries on. Anyways, we're all familiar with that. I guess it's called negotiating. Okay, then the fifth step in the personal selling process is closing the sale. So we have three flavors of close here. We have the trial close. So the salesperson asks the customer to make a decision on some aspect of the purchase. So they're selling vehicles. So they're saying, okay, well, if you're to buy it, what's your favorite color? Like, which color would you buy it in, and what make and model? To see if that kind of tests the waters before they sign make a final commitment. We have an assumptive close. So we ask the customer, the assumptive close kind of presumes that the customer is going to buy the product. So we start testing them on, okay, when would you take delivery, or what features in the warranty do you like? Do you need financing? The mere fact that I'm asking, do you need financing, kind of presumes that you're going to buy. So how much financing do you need? 80%, 40%, 60%, 100%, whatever. Okay, and then there's always the final type of close is the urgency close, and we're all familiar with this one. This is where the salesperson puts some time pressure on the customer, saying, "Hey, this is our last model in stock. Hey, we've got a special deal on financing, 0%, but it runs out at the end of the month." So it's putting some pressure on the customer to make a decision and close the deal soon. Okay, and then the sixth step of this personal selling process is follow-up. So the salesperson following with the customer later on to see if or how satisfied they are, or if they're having any problems they would like addressed. And we're all familiar with follow-up. I mean, you buy practically anything nowadays except for food and gasoline, and they're following up with you. I find it a bit annoying myself, but I have to admit I recognize the value. Okay. So the next slide is simply a summary of this six-step process. Six-step personal selling process. So here's your 6 steps: prospecting, pre-approach, approach, presentation, close, and follow-up. And what the objectives of each one of those steps are. So if you'd like to see a brief video explanation of the same 6-step process, although it's slightly different, I have posted a video in Moodle. I think it's about 7 minutes long, and it's a lady who just really goes through this 6-step process with a little example, and I think she does a very good job. Anyways, if you'd like to see someone else explain it besides my explanation or the book's explanation, there's that little video. Okay, so the final section of chapter 18 is the personal sales management process. So if we worked for a large consumer products company and we had a sales force of 100 salespeople, or 1,000 salespeople, or 10,000 salespeople, or for Avon and we have 6 million salespeople, how are we going to organize our sales force? So So we have this three-step process. First of all, we come up with a plan, then we implement the plan, and then we evaluate the effectiveness of our implemented plan. So that's our process, and that's what we're going to go through in these next few slides. And then that finishes off the chapter. Okay, so the first step is we have to devise a sales plan. We have to devise a sales plan. And so we need to set some objectives, we need to get our people organized, and we need to develop some account management policies for our salespeople to follow. Okay, so off we go to step one. Okay, so we need to, so here's the first of three steps in the, I think it really should say a personal sales management process. We have to come up with a plan. We need to devise a plan. We have to plan. So what do? Well, we need to set some objectives. So we need to set some objectives for both our individual salespeople, but also for our sales team, for the sales department as a whole. And we have different types of objectives that we can set. We can set sort of input related objectives. So we can say, salesperson number one, we expect you to make 25 sales calls per day. So that's an input based, what quantity of effort the salesperson has to put into the employer per day. We might set a target of selling expenses. We really expect you to spend $1,000 a week on selling expenses. We can have output based objectives. So we expect a certain volume of sales per month, or we expect a certain sales of a certain number of units per month, per period. We expect you to drum up a certain number of new customers per month. So those are output-based objectives. And we can also establish these behavioral-based objectives. So we, the employer, set some goals for the salespeople to improve their product knowledge, to improve the level of customer service, to improve their selling and communication skills. So they affect the behavior of the salespeople, not their inputs or outputs. Okay, then we need to organize our sales force. And first thing we need to do is, do we use internally employed salespeople, our own employees, or do we contract it out to a sales agent or to an outside contractor? So the book gives us a method for deciding what our optimal approach is, whether to use internal salespeople or external contractors. And so there's a little illustration of this in the book. So here's our company. We draw a little diagram, put company sales on the x-axis, and we put our total selling costs on the y-axis. So if we use external sales agents, we'll pay them a flat sales commission. We're going to pay them 7% of sales volume. So we can plot the cost on this chart by multiplying the sales commission by the level of sales. So that gives us this red line here. And then we can, I'm going to go this way here. Oh, I should have done it the other way around. Anyways, then we can plot a similar cost curve based on employee salespeople. So if you have employee salespeople, we're going to pay them a base salary, and then we'll also pay them a sales commission, but the sales commission will be lower than what we would pay contract salespeople. And so we come up with a little cost line illustrating this. Again, it's based on, correlates to total company sales. And so we see that there's this break-even point where we're kind of indifferent between whether we use outside salespeople or inside. And what we realize is that we really prefer to use, it's less costly to use outside salespeople when sales are relatively low. So when sales are less than 25 million, It's less expensive to use outside salespeople. And when sales are really high, it's less expensive to use internal salespeople rather than continuing on with the outside contractors. So which method we use for selecting our sales force just might depend on the size of our company. So maybe we do both. Maybe we use external salespeople when the company is small, and once it reaches a certain size threshold, then we switch the salespeople over to internal salespeople. Okay, so we have that. This method for helping us decide which type of salespeople we should use, internal or external. Okay, so when we're talking about organizing the sales force, we need to decide using internal versus external. I'm going to go blue. And then we need to organize. We need to organize the sales force, and we have three approaches we can use. I'm going to have to clean that. We can organize our sales force either by customer type. So we're selling products in the vehicle industry. So we have some. So we're selling parts. Let's say we're a muffler company, and so we can sell mufflers to the auto industry. So our customers are organized by customer type. So auto industry. There are other vehicle manufacturers out there manufacturing tractors for farms and all sorts of equipment for the construction industry. So we organize our sales by customer type. Oh, and government and military. Okay, so they're building tanks and troop carriers and jeeps. So we can organize our sales force by customer type. Alternatively, we can organize our sales force by product type. So yeah, we're a vehicle components manufacturer. Here we build some engine-related parts, and here we build some non-engine-related parts. And so we organize our sales force by product type, and of course they have their own little sales teams. And then third way that we can organize our sales force is geographically. And so we can imagine this being quite common in Canada because Canada is a very large country geographically. So we can have a eastern region sales force and a western region sales force. Okay, and then the next step, I have to kind of, these slides are still, so the next step in, so organizing our sales force, so we said there's deciding between external versus internal salespeople. We have how to organize the sales force, how to organize by product type, by customer type, by geographical area, and then we need to determine optimal size, and so we have that break-even approach. So we have this concept of key account management. So key account management is the same, it's the team approach, it's the team selling approach. And again, so we can imagine that a company selling a large, valuable product like Boeing aircraft, they have key accounts with Air Canada, WestJet, JetBlue down in the States, American Airlines, United Airlines, Continental Airlines, I can't remember all the American airlines. So they'll use a team selling approach to sell to these key accounts because these airlines are buying multiple jets all at the same time, and only 3 jets equals $1 billion worth of sales. So we're pretty sure they're using a team selling approach. Okay, and then final step in organizing or in formulating our sales plan or devising our sales plan is coming up with some account management policies that we, the employer, want our salespeople to follow. So there's an example of this in the book. Okay. So we have an example of account management policies for our salespeople to follow, and the policies effectively say or give our salespeople direction on who they should contact, what types of selling activities they should use. Do we want them to use cold calling techniques? Do we want them to use email selling? Do we want them to meet face-to-face at trade shows or door-to-door? And it also specifies what policies or procedures they should use in carrying out their selling activities. So we have an example of this account management policy grid that helps direct our employees to focus on sort of high priority quadrants in this matrix. So here's our matrix. We have on the x-axis we have the competitive position of our sales department. We have some strengths and we have some weaknesses, and we sort our customers into how much sales potential we think we have with them. We have some contacts that we think there's good potential that they'll buy our products, and we have some other prospects that we think they're interested in our product, but we're not really that sure how much they'll buy. And so we set up a little matrix like this and say, hey, let's focus on customers that have high potential, that suit the strengths of our salespeople. So focus on these guys first, and then kind of move through the quadrant later on if we have time. If we exhaust these people, then we'll move on to the other quadrants. Okay, so this first part of the personal sales management process is devising a plan, and then the next step is implementing the plan. Okay, so the next step, the second of third steps here, is implementing our personal selling plan. So when we come to implement our plan, we need some bodies. We need to recruit salespeople. So we need to look for people that fit the requirements of the job, and ideally, we, the employer, would have completed a job analysis to understand what's required of the job, what the job requires and what the required skills are, and ideally we would also have a job description. So a job description is a description of the job duties and the physical and mental requirements of the particular job, what the description of what products should be sold, what the customer list is going to be, how what the reporting relationship is between that job and the person's supervisor or superior, and how that position relates to all the other positions in the organization. So that means that there's an organization chart. There's the boss, here's middle managers, and then here's all the supervisor employees. Okay, and the authors tell us that sales function people in sales jobs need to have a high level of emotional intelligence, so people that understand both their own emotions and those of the customers at the same time. Another aspect of implementing your sales plan is training our sales force in both selling techniques and product knowledge. And then finally, we have to motivate and compensate our salespeople. And so we have a list here of 3 different general compensation techniques. We can pay our salespeople on a straight salary basis. We can use a straight commission basis, or we can use kind of a mix of both, a combination of both. And so each of these approaches have some pros and cons. So with the straight salary approach, It's very easy for the employer to administer because everybody gets paid the same amount time period by time period. The drawback is straight salary does not provide a strong incentive for the salespeople to increase their sales. Straight commission, nice. The positive thing about straight sales commission is it provides maximum incentive for the salespeople to increase sales. The drawback is there's no incentive for the salesperson to provide good service. So yes, you can sell lots of product, and maybe the customers like your product, but they think the salesperson is obnoxious. So the customers don't buy any more product from the customer because A, the salesperson is obnoxious, or B, there's poor follow-up. When the products have problems, there's poor follow-up. So straight commission does not incent salespeople to do that follow-up activity. And then we can use a combined approach, so a certain level of salary plus a commission, and so its advantages are it has the advantages of not as complex administration as straight commission, but it also combines some incentive in there to increase sales. Okay, and then the book tells us a little bit about, or uses Mary Kay as an example of a company using rewards to help motivate their salespeople, and I gather they use the award these pink Cadillacs to their top-selling salespeople. It's interesting to me that they would use Cadillacs because Cadillacs are kind of like an obsolete form of luxury vehicle. But what the heck? Maybe it's the color that people like. Anyways, and I'm not trying to trash talk General Motors, but I don't think people buy Cadillacs anymore. Anyways, older people buy Cadillacs. Young people don't buy Cadillacs. Anyways, maybe the Mary Kay salespeople, maybe they're all older, and she just had died here. I don't know. Okay, so the final step in the personal sales management process is evaluating how well our personal selling efforts are. So how do we evaluate how successful our personal sales force is at making generating sales? Well, we can use quantitative ways to assess their performance. So we can count. We have these input-based approaches. We can count the number of sales calls they made. We can add up their selling expenses. We can use output-based approaches. Count the dollar value in sales. Count the number of units sold. Count the change in sales between time periods. Count the number of new accounts. Count the level of or measure the amount of level of profitability. We can also assess our salespeople on their behavior. What's their attitude like? How satisfied are customers? How good is their product knowledge? How good are their selling and communication skills? What's their appearance like? And so on. And then finally, this final part is not really about evaluating the effectiveness of salespeople, but it's the use of automated technology to help in the sales function. So way back in the early part of this course, I can't remember if it was chapter 1 or chapter 2, we talked about CRM, which stands for Customer Relationship Management. And if we recall from those early chapters, CRM really focuses on developing long-term relationships with customers. We want to develop loyal customers for our products. And so nowadays, a good portion of the selling process is automated through CRM software. So we have software and computer devices that allow us to quickly analyze our accounts, to help us manage our leads, to help us manage our time, to help process orders, and to help with provide information that's used in sales presentations. And so this is highly automated. So there's a company, there's a company in the United States that's called Salesforce. Salesforce. And they make CRM software. They make CRM software, and they provide CRM services to large companies. So in Moodle, I've posted two brief videos. They're 2 to 3 minutes apiece of some customers of this Salesforce company using Salesforce's CRM technology. So the first little video is from, it's a testimonial from General Electric saying how great and wonderful Salesforce's CRM technology is. And then there's another, so General Electric is a big industrial conglomerate. They make airplane engines, and they make light bulbs, and they make generators. They build locomotives. I mean, it's a very diversified company. It's one of the world's largest companies, actually. Anyways, and then we have another testimonial from another company that uses this Salesforce company's CRM technology, and it's Philips. And Philips, as you may recall, is the light bulb manufacturer based in Holland. But these are both the testimonials come from the United States. Anyways, if you're interested in sort of getting a better sense of how Salesforce, I don't mean the company Salesforce, but how this personal selling process technology is being automated by computers, you might be interested in watching these two little supplementary videos. Anyway, they're short, so it's not going to take very much time. Okay, so that's it for chapter 18, and so we'll see you back in the next chapter, chapter 19. Talk to you later.